How has the travel affected you, and will it affect you on Sunday as you fly back over to the States?
No, it's not going to affect me because I've had time off since then. Obviously, if I was coming straight from Australia and Japan there, then yeah, it would, as it usually does most times. But I'll be flying from Detroit, so the travel this time, luckily for me, won't be a big deal.
So are you based out of America right now, or did you just happen to have a booking around then?
No, I live in Detroit at the moment.
So how does that affect you when you do go to Japan or you do have to fly to Australia? Like does it take you a while to get over that, or are you just used to it now?
Starting to get more and more used to it, especially the flight to Japan. It's about 12 hours each time, but I've done it quite a few times now, so starting to get used to that. And then, but tell you what, the trip to Australia that was pretty tiring. It was like I think we did 22 hours in the air in total to get to Adelaide, so that's the long. Well, actually, the longest I spent on the plane at one time was 15 hours, and that was to go from LA to Melbourne. So uh, that was pretty tiring, but luckily we had about a day off once we got there. So I'm very fortunate that I'm not doing any travel like that this time.
What'd you think of that tour? I mean, it's a little closer to where you were born, obviously, and New
Yeah.
Japan seemed very interested in branching out.
Oh, it was awesome. I, it, it went way better than I expected it to. The turnouts, two of the shows had about 3,000 people at them. So that was very amazing for that part of the world to get that many people coming out. I was also very surprised myself at the support I got as a New Zealander from the Australians. Like they claimed me as one of their own, so it was very, very nice and very nice to almost have that hometown support feel to it.
We're seeing that a lot more, even with the UFC. A lot of these companies, whether they be based in Japan or the U.S., they want that market. They want it really, really badly. And
Yeah.
stars like yourself and Robert Whitaker and even Tai Tuivasa, Mark Hunt in the UFC are kind of stepping up and doing that. Who are some guys from that area that maybe you're familiar with that the rest of the world aren't?
Uh, it's not even off the top of my head, to be honest. A lot of people thing with New Zealand is if it's not rugby, then no one really cares, to be honest. So that's why I know guys like Mark Hunt. I think he like when he says where he's billed from, it's usually either Samoa or Australia, I believe. Well, I know he moved to Australia as well. Because I know Farley's friends with him, and I've heard that from him before. Is they didn't New Zealand wasn't bothered about getting behind him when he was doing the K1 stuff. It wasn't until he's doing, main event UFC fights that New Zealand tries to really get behind him. So I get that feeling New Zealand. If it's not rugby, then no one's interested. So you got to get out of New Zealand and go and do your thing elsewhere to be able to make it. That's why a lot of the wrestlers, because New Zealand does seem to provide some good guys. You've got Hinare in New Japan as well. Over in England, you got Travis Banks and TK, and they're doing the stuff over at Progress, and you got Johnny Idol over in CMLL in Mexico. So yeah, you can't if you're from New Zealand, you want to do good with something out there. I feel like you got to get out of the country.
You're a part of this big angle now, and you've got a match with Adam Page, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the Switchblade deal, how did you find out that New Japan had these big plans for you?
They told me, when would it have been? It would have been, I think it was probably May last year, that they're going to bring me back at some point, and I got given a very basic idea of what they wanted me to do, and then it was kind of left down to myself they gave me a different name, but we came back and pitched Switchblade to them. It had a better ring to it, and then in terms of costume and what I wear and how I talk and what I do, that's very much up to myself to just come up with over time. So yeah, they just kind of gave me an idea and let me run with it.
So during that period, obviously there is a bit of a marriage between Ring of Honor and New Japan. You're still appearing for Ring of Honor while you know that this is going on. Was there anything that maybe they recommended to you to get done or work on during your Ring of Honor run that you needed to touch on?
Not in particular, I don't think. 'Cause we kind of, when I was talking with guys like Alex Shelley about it, we kind of agreed that my style at times was similar to what it was going to be anyway, so it wasn't going to be too much of a drastic change in terms of what I physically do inside the ring. But other than that, there wasn't anything specifically that said, hey, work on this, or hey, please do this.
You've been pretty much a fixture on these Ring of Honor New Japan shows, and even the New Japan shows in Long Beach. What were your impressions of that United States debut for New Japan? Because we've seen a lot of people, specifically guys in the Bullet Club, who said that they should have just went for the bigger arenas and things like that, as opposed to, not, I wouldn't call it a small arena that you all are working Sunday, but maybe be more aggressive.
I mean, yeah, it would be awesome if they'd done bigger ones, but it's just one step at a time, you know. I don't think they quite realize how popular New Japan is in the States, and I can see why they went for again, it's still 5,000 people, so it's still good, but I can see why they're going for that. You know, they'd rather do that and sell it out than take a big one and then have a bunch of empty seats there, I guess. But these big arenas will come. I'm sure the next one will be bigger, and it'll just keep going from there. The way that this has worked out, sold out in like record time, I think it shows them that they can definitely book bigger arenas, and they'll still sell out, especially with the guys that are on the show. New Japan is just the hottest thing going these days. The matches, the wrestlers themselves, people just want to see it. So very exciting for what will be next and how many people will get into the next venue.
Facing Hangman Page on Sunday. I spoke to him yesterday. He said that he thought that joining the Bullet Club would have been a better career decision for you, and that he's not convinced that you won't eventually do that. How do you feel about that?
One never knows what's going to happen down the track, you know. A year ago, would people have thought that I'd beaten Kenny Omega for this title? I doubt that. So he says that not joining wasn't a good decision. I'm the one that's got the championship that he's coming after, so I feel like that decision worked out pretty good for me. Put myself in a main event position against the guy that people consider to be the best wrestler in the world. Him saying it wasn't the right decision, I take that more of a little bit of jealousy that he couldn't have had the chance to do that himself. But I guess that's why he also then came out and challenged me afterwards. Him being in the Bullet Club, I feel like it limits him. I've heard in a previous interview someone told me that he said that I have a rocket strapped to my back. I think I put that rocket on my own back by turning down Kenny Omega and the stuff that I do, whereas he limits himself by teaming with the Young Bucks. Very popular guys, but he's going to constantly be in the Young Bucks' shadow and then Cody's shadow with what he does. So, I see there's a little bit of jealousy that he couldn't go out and do his own thing himself.
Yeah, given all the friction with Bullet Club, a lot of people thought that you would step in and kind of take over things there. That wasn't the case. Did you hear that a lot before you had made your decision?
No. Like I said, when I said to everyone in press conferences and whether it's online and after a couple of matches out beforehand, I said I was going to beat Kenny and this was all going to happen, and it has. I'm just letting it all unfold, letting them all turn on each other. The Bullet Club's got out of control over the last couple of years in terms of how many people's in it and the stuff that they do as well. You've got almost two versions of the Bullet Club. You've got the guys who call themselves the OG BC, Fale, Tamatonga and stuff out in Japan. Then you've got the being the elite guys that started off as Kenny and the Bucks, and then then they brought Cody into that, and then you've got Adam Page and Marty who I feel just try and act like the Young Bucks there, and so it's all a bit of a mess, but I feel like they're picking each other off at the moment, and they'll get it back down to its core, and we'll see if it even survives that.